Hello Clashers and welcome back to the Woody the Mortar Mauler channel. I'm very excited to bring you today the upcoming balance changes going live on December 15th. I've got some exclusive in-game footage for you all to enjoy, see some of the new interactions between these cards, and learn a little bit more about the tweaks and balancing changes being implemented to some of the least used cards in Clash Royale. As you can see on the right side of the screen here, the first card being changed is the Elite Barbarians. The 19% increase in his hit points, 14% increase in damage, and decrease in his hit speed from 1.5 seconds to 1.4 seconds. Each will make him very powerful. He will be able to one-shot archers. He'll have a ton of more hit points to deal with any enemies that are going to be firing at him. But overall, he'll still be just about as strong as a knight. He'll do a little bit more damage and have a little bit less health. But generally, this is a big buff for a 6 elixir, very fast troop. I'm excited about the potential for this card to see some additional use in the game. The second card being buffed is the Tornado. It'll have a 10% increase in its radius, and it will pull troops even faster. When you use the Tornado defensively, it'll even be easier to swap your opponent's troop to the other lane, or as we saw earlier in this match, pull a troop onto your King Tower and activate it really early in the game. The third troop being buffed is the Inferno Dragon. He's getting a 5% increase in hit points and will retarget onto towers quicker. This minor hit point buff should allow him to survive a couple more swings from some of the smallest troops, or just otherwise survive some interactions that he might not otherwise. It's not a really big change overall. I think that the change to his retargeting time is a little bit more significant. The fact that he'll be able to deal with smaller troops like minions or spear goblins a little bit more efficiently will make him better overall in terms of dealing with the troops that he's not ideally going up against. You would usually want to play him against bigger targets, but if he's got to deal with the swarms, so be it. The fourth card being buffed in this update is the Balloon. It'll have a 105% increase in death damage and a 50% increase in its death damage radius. That means that it'll be a lot less of a punishment when you play the Balloon and it gets hard countered, because a lot of times any chippy units that are used against it will die just as soon as that death damage bomb goes right off. The increased death damage will hit and kill archers and minions, two cards that are very good against the Balloon right now. The increased radius will also help it to hit everything that you would want it to hit when it's on your opponent's side of the arena, perhaps even clipping the tower when it before wouldn't have even come close. The fifth card being buffed is the Wizard. His hit speed will decrease from 1.6 to 1.4 seconds. This is a huge 14% increase in his DPS overall, but I think unfortunately it may not be enough to bring him back into the metagame. The next card is an Giant Skeleton. The buff being done to him is an 8% increase in his damage, straight up. He'll one-shot goblins, which is a nice little buff, but once again, it's quite difficult to get him to the tower in the first place. I don't see this change being the one that will bring him back into the metagame, but perhaps in some niche decks it'll work. Speaking of niche decks, the Lumberjack may also find some usage in them. A 6% increase in his hit points is also a relatively minor improvement, but overall should help him in some small situations. The Bomber will now one-shot archers. That's basically the only change that we see to this card. A 4% increase in damage will help him just a little tiny bit, but he won't be too overpowering. And then finally, last but not least, my favorite card, the Mortar, is getting an 11% increase in its damage radius. So it's not going to deal any additional damage, but it's going to have the ability to hit more targets, to potentially get a little bit of splash damage onto the tower when it's actually targeted onto a nearby troop, and just overall cause more mayhem in the arena. It'll be more effective at hitting smaller troops that can run really quickly that would otherwise outrun the mortar shot. The increased radius from 1.8 tiles to 2 tiles is going to make it a lot more effective on defense and perhaps getting some additional chip shots off against the tower. So with that, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in for this round of balance changes. I look forward to bringing you more content and learning about the upcoming update on December 15th. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that you'll drop me a like, a subscribe, and follow me on Twitter at Woody_CR. Have a great day, everyone.